Welcome back to Gulf Coast Live Arts Edition. I'm Amy Tardif. We're celebrating the Naples Players' 55th birthday today. On stage now, it's The Goodbye Girl, a heartwarming, fun show for the entire family. Take Neil Simon's comedy, the music of Marvin Hamlish, and the lyrics of David Zippel, and combine it with Simon's original screenplay from the 1977 film, and you get 5 Tony Award nominations. It opened on Broadway in 1993, starring Bernadette Peters and sparking Martin Short's Broadway debut. Now the Naples Players tackle a charming and funny musical with a plume. It stars Laura Needle as Paula, Mariel Weinand as her daughter Lucy, and they're both in studio today. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks.
We're also joined by Naples Players vocal and musical director Julie Shaffer. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Did I say that right, or is it Shaffer?
Yes, Shaffer.
Good guess. And you can join us, too, by calling 1-877-428-8255. That's 1-877-GCU-TALK. Okay, Laura, tell us about Paula's dilemma, therefore outlining the plot of The Goodbye Girl.
Well, Paula is an ex-dancer, and she has historically leaned on men for support, and she's really just looking to have stability through men. And after, I think, the 5th person leaves her, she decides that it's not going to happen anymore, and she's going to make a life for herself and her daughter Lucy and lean on herself.
And then?
And then, unexpectedly, Elliot arrives at her door, and Tony, her former lover, has sublet the apartment, unbeknownst to Paula, and she and Elliot decide to share the apartment, and they have a lot of stress between the two of them, and eventually they learn to like each other, and they fall in love.
And Mariel, from her daughter's perspective, what's the deal?
Well, I play the role of Lucy McFadden, and she's the daughter of Paula, and she sees her mother go through the pain of when she breaks up with Tony, and she feels the pain for her, and so then when Elliot comes in, which is the person who comes in from Tony's siblet, she feels that her mother's getting stressed out, and then as Elliot and Paula grow together, and they become friends and more than friends. She feels like she doesn't want her mother to get hurt again if she's falling in love. She doesn't want her to get another broken heart.
But Lucy likes Elliot too, doesn't she?
Yes, she does like Elliot.
Isn't the theme living with all these different men and getting dumped a bit mature for a 12-year-old girl?
Well, Lucy, Well, she knows a lot from her mother because her mother has been through a lot, so she experiences everything with her.
One of the duets that you two perform is called Footsteps. What's the message in that song? And you can both feel free to answer.
My message to her is please not to do what I have done, which is go after every man that comes along that seems nice. And the biggest message to her is not to fall for an actor because they're very charming for Paula, and she doesn't want Lucy to get hurt the way that Paula has gotten hurt.
And Lucy listens to her mother, and they both sing the duet together, and, she throws some lines in there, and well, what if I became a dancer and everything, but it's a really fun song.
What about Mariel's perspective on that kind of song, considering Mariel is an actress? What do you think?
Well, not sure about that.
Not about the men part, I mean about the actress part.
Well, I think we have fun doing it together.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
Just as the two of us having fun on stage and dancing around together. She's great on stage. She gives a lot. It's fun working with you.
Hard to make that decision at this point. This is a pretty demanding musical. Julie, how much vocal directing does a show like this require?
A lot, actually. There are some serious harmonic things going on because it's a jazz style, and the cast is small. What was there? Are there 21? I think there's 21 total people in the cast, but then there are only the 3 leads. So Lucy has a lot to sing. Paula has enormous amounts of music to sing. Elliot has many songs that are right back to back, where he barely catches his breath and is back into this marathon number. And Kristen Cassidy, who plays Mrs. Crosby, has a couple of powerhouse numbers.
The Landlord.
The Landlord, yeah. And then there's a couple of plays within a play, or scenes within a scene. The first is this, the scene called Richard Lives, where we have this ensemble playing a scene from Richard III, but it's also set to music. And the entire orchestration you have this kind of dichotomy of Richard running out to talk to Mark and singing, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, and then running back on stage and being in the play. And at the end...
Which is in a play.
And then at the end, all the actors in the play sing, and then all the actors on the stage sing together in full harmony. And it's really the only number where everyone gets to sing at the same time for this type of a musical. But there are lots of harmonies with the three girls. We actually cast 4 so that we could always have 3 little girls to depend on. But Mariel and Sophie and our 2 Caitlyns all have to sing in harmony, and they do that very well. As far as the solo numbers, first of all, let me just say live to the world that James Little and Laura Needle are 2 of my favorite singers I've ever worked with. They have the most amazing voices, and they're both so musical. And once they were cast, I knew that my work was like minuscule for them. But it was a fun process to go through the numbers and to see, what was the acting content, what did we need to work on as far as diction, and once you put choreography in, it changes. And once you put the orchestra in, it really changes. But it was a great musical to work on. I love the process, and it was a great process with this cast.
Because this might be one of the few community theaters that has a live pit with a live orchestra. I mean, a pit with a live orchestra in it.
I guess I've really been spoiled. I've been doing musicals at Naples Players since 2000. When I moved here, The Music Man was my first, and it was the first time that I was able to conduct in a community theater situation the live orchestra. And I know that we go out of the way to budget for the number of musicians we need to get the sound that we need, and we're very lucky to have that.
When you're working with community theater, such as the Naples Players, how much of a blessing is it for you to get a cast this talented? Is that unusual?
Well, I'm glad you said the word blessing, because that's the word I use whenever I'm talking about Naples Players. But we did Secret Garden, which was like a dream show for me to have this summer, and the cast that we had was all my favorite people and amazing talent, new people too. And when we thought about Goodbye Girl, I read the script, wasn't crazy about it. I listened to the music. I thought, okay, it's a Bernadette Peters and Martin Short show. It's a star vehicle. Who are we going to get? Who's going to come and audition for this? Because regardless who I'd like to have, it's who has the time to commit. And when we cast this, I think I called each one of them individually and said, this is the perfect cast, and I am so blessed and so happy.
Mariel, I neglected to ask you how long you've been singing and acting.
Well, I started doing theater when I was around 7 or 8, and I started with the Kids Act program down at the theater, and I've been doing it ever since then.
Mm-hmm. And what kinds of roles have you done?
Well, this summer they did a show called Dear Edwina, and I was Annie in it, the Girl Scout. And I've been in Annie, and I've been Annie in Annie before. And, I've been in Tom Sawyer, and I was Becky Thatcher. Yep. And...
We can picture that.
Yeah.
And what about, for both of you, are roles that you want to do that haven't come along yet?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
I want to think about that. How much fun, I'm going to come back to that. Okay. How much fun versus work is the Goodbye Girl?
It's a lot of fun.
And a lot of work.
Yeah. Actually, it's a lot of work for me and for James. A whole lot of work.
The couple weeks before the show opens, there's a lot of rehearsals, and you have to stay late some nights, but it's all worth it in the end because it's a lot of fun.